Hi YouTube, how's it going? Um, Sorry I've made a video in a while. I've not really been interested in the game since around Nationals, but with the new list coming out, I think it changes a lot of things and does a lot to help move the game in the right direction. So I, based on the changes on the list, obviously Chaos Dragons is what I'm playing or plan to play at the moment. Um, for a couple reasons, really. With dragons losing Super Rejuve entirely and the babies, they lose a decent amount of steam to make them, slower, not nearly as insane as they were in the current format that we're in. Um, that, in conjunction with Spellbook of Judgment being banned, puts Prophecy back in the position it was in before we got Judgment, which was, it's a good deck, but it's not overpowered by any stretch really of the word. At least not compared to everything else that is viable now. So yeah, that also with Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos going to one, as well as Soul Drain, it takes away a lot of the hindrance that this deck can run into. So yeah, that water loss, a little bit of power should make it more manageable. That was always a pretty tough matchup for this deck. Um, I mean, it's just a lot of things make it seem like this deck is good again. So I'm gonna try it again. Um, so I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the deck. Also, no promises on video quality. I'm shooting this on my PS Vita, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, so as you can see, the deck still plays 3 Pulsar. I think that's pretty basic. Next is 2 Dark Flare Dragon. I'm opting to run 2 as opposed to 3 really for space issues. There's never really a time where I wish I had a third one. So, I mean, if something was to change and there was a time where 3 Dark Flare would definitely be the better choice, then I would do it without hesitation. But as of now, I don't think any more than 2 are really necessary. The rest of the dragons are also pretty standard: Red Eyes, Dark Armed, and Eclipse Wyvern. I think that with Eclipse Wyvern having only 2 targets in the standard build, I would say that my build is fairly standard. You only have 2 targets, which are Red Eyes and Dark Armed. So unless you're playing the Judgment Dragon build or some kind of wonky thing with more big dragons in it, then yeah, you could play more than one Eclipse Wyvern, but I really wouldn't. I think it's kind of not a good move to run more than one in a deck with only 2 targets. So yeah, there's that. And then the Lightsworn monsters, I play 3 Lila, and I think that's a pretty standard choice. And if I decide that I need to take away Lila's because the format is less back row heavy than I think it's going to be with the banning of Heavy Storm at least, then I can always take them out. I don't really see myself ever doing that though. And if the format leans towards more like back row and it causes a problem, then I can always add in breakers, which was a thing I initially had in here but then took out, and then 2 Raikou, just because I only play 2 recharge, so having 3 Raikou seems kind of unnecessary. You never want more than one, and you don't really want it late game in too many situations. So I think playing only 2 would be fair. It's been good so far in testing. I'm still playing 2 Tour Guide and Night Assailant. I don't think anything really changed. It's still, good in this deck for obvious reasons. And then playing the Night Assailant gives you another target if you happen to mill a Tour Guide and draw the Tour Guide before the Night Assailant, or you always have a target, hopefully. So I think it's still really good, and it's been amazing in testing. Now, 2 Card Trooper, I think it's also pretty standard. You want to mill. That's pretty much what this deck feeds off of, so the more you mill, the better. Plus, when it dies, you draw a card, so it replaces itself. That's always good. BLS, Chaos Sorcerer are standard. I was kind of hoping we were going to get Sorcerer to 2. That would have been pretty amazing. I just kind of like the card a whole lot. So, yeah, the BLS and Sorcerer are pretty standard. There's nothing really to be said there. The 1 Thunder King, with Thunder King going to 1, I mean, it was always a good side deck choice There was one that I preferred in this deck. So with it going to 1, there's no real reason not to main it. I mean, it's been pretty good so far. Everybody, you still have to work to get around that 1 if it's putting you in a bad spot early game. So it's still a really good card, and I see no reason not to run it. And I'm running 1 Plague. This is, I don't know, this is new for me because we can't play Reborn or Avarice or Heavy Storm anymore, so we had to find cards, to fill the gaps. And that's what Thunder King was, but as well, Plague Spreader, because the synchro abilities, I have realized in recent testing, are pretty good. One of my friends was playing it, and I wasn't. We were doing mirror matches and testing, and his ability to Crimson Blader me, pretty brutal, so it's definitely something that I put in. And I don't think I would ever, play 2, but as far as just playing 1, it's a really good one of, because I play Foolish as well, so Foolishing Plague, never a bad thing, instant synchro, so it's pretty cool. On to the hand traps. I play 3 Max C and 2 Effect Veiler currently. I think that this ratio could easily change depending on how the format shapes up. I think going with 2 you might be able to get away with, and then 3 Effect Veiler, but like I said, the format isn't really defined yet, so after Toronto, I'm pretty much gonna, look at the results there and track the tournament, see how stuff is doing, and then, make adjustments to this deck based on what I think might be big, as a result. So, the Maxi Effect Veiler ratios could easily be changed depending on the upcoming meta. So yeah, after Effect Veiler, which I play 2 of, there's 2 Tragodias. I think this is pretty cool. It's pretty standard. Tragodia is a really good card. Discarding Eclipse Wyvern to take one of their level 4s and then banishing something has always been a really overpowered play. I mean, he's just a big wall early game. If you drop him and hang on to your cards, he's 36 every time on their turn and 42 on yours when you draw a card, so is usually pretty big. Gores is also pretty standard. I mean, there's no reason really not to play Gores. It's won me plenty of games that I probably should have lost because I had no cards, but I had Gores, so, all the comeback pushes, I guess. Another thing that I wanted to say about Tragon Gores, with the new list, Evil Swarm obviously lost a little bit of power with Rescue Rabbit going to 1, Compulsory going to 1, Torrential going to 1, all that stuff. So the deck is a little bit less viable than it was, and I don't think that me seeing an Ophion really going to be that big of a problem, and it's not going to happen very often, so I definitely think Tragon Gores are good cards, again, and could be played in a lot more things. Honest is my last monster. I guess it's a tech choice. I see some people play it, some people don't. Personally, I have a couple friends who don't play it. It's won me a lot of games, I won't lie. Running into people trying to run over Light Pulsars, or running over Rykos that are in attack mode, or Lilas, whatever. It always catches them off guard. It's always good. So I think it's definitely an inclusion for me this time around. 3 MST is, I guess it's going to be standard. Like I said, it really depends on what the format shapes into. If it's less back row heavy, then I might cut it to 2. Move the 3rd one to the side. It really depends. But as of now, I'm playing 3. 2 Solar Recharge. You never want to draw 2 Solar Recharge. That's the thing. So with me playing less Rykos, I can play less recharges, and then I don't draw 2. Drawing 2 is really bad because you only play 5 Lightsworn monsters. So it reduces the amount of dead draws you could potentially have. After that is Dark Hole, the last of the really big power spell cards we have left, as far as just blanket destruction or, something along those lines. And then the last 3 are Allure of Darkness. This is another choice of mine. It's just something I've always liked to play in this deck, so I decided to include it this time around. It's been pretty good. It gives you extra draws, obviously, and since a lot of dark monsters you can afford to get rid of at most stages of the game, it's it's a pretty good card. Charge Live Brigade for obvious reasons, milling and searching to potentially make your recharges live or get you the Lila to pop a back row, whatever you need really. And then Foolish. I just like Foolish in this deck because you can Foolish Plague Spreader, a light or dark if you really need one that bad. And you can put like Red Eyes Engrave for Pulsar, Pulsar Engrave for Red Eyes. So there's lots of cool stuff you can do. I think it's good, and I don't see myself cutting it just yet, but it could happen. So that's pretty much the whole deck. The extra deck is still in testing, as is the rest of the deck. But the extra deck more than anything else because I want to fit in a Catastor and potentially a Stardust. So would need to make cuts. There's lots of things here that can go. But for rank 3s, I play Leviathan, Temtempo, Zenmaines, and Leviair. They're pretty standard. I've used them all so far, so they're good, obviously. I think they're pretty instant inclusions. So that's just how I feel about it. Queen Dragoon Dejin. She could possibly get cut, honestly. I mean, it's one of my favorite cards in the deck, but the really only way to make it is having one of your smaller monsters live a turn, but you have no protection in this deck, so the chances of one of them not getting killed, it becomes slimmer as the game goes on. If anything, Maestroke will stay as my only rank 4 just on the off chance. But besides that, really, I mean, Queen Dragoon might go away. Rank 5s, I play Tyrus and Adrius. Easily one of these could get cut. I'm not really sure which. I honestly like playing both, but I would probably cut Tyrus over Adrius, honestly. But either way, one of them could potentially get cut. The same goes with M7. I think the card is a good card. It kind of sucks it went to 1. I had a set of DT ones, but I already got rid of the other 2. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a good card. Adding things back to your hand in this deck is more important now since Avarice is gone. So you could use it sometimes. I mean, I made it once and it really wasn't that good, but you know, as testing goes on, I could find it to be better. So it really just depends on, you know, time and testing. Inzektor Exobeetle, one of my favorite cards in the extra deck. I win more games with this card than I do with other Exceeds, or use more than other Exceeds at least. Just being able to bounce a guy and then triggering your Pulsar, and then getting a Red Eyes, getting the Pulsar, and then overlaying for Gaia Charger is really insane. It's one of my favorite plays in this deck, so it's obvious for me as an inclusion. Attune is something that I could consider cutting. I never really like bringing him out. It's good for, you know, obvious reasons, but I just don't ever really make it that much. I never really want to, so it could possibly get cut. Strike Bouncer is one that I will keep, definitely. He's good for obvious reasons, and I do make him more than I make most of these other guys, so I don't know. I just really like it, I guess. And then Gaia Charger is pretty obvious. And then the 2 Synchros I have right now are Black Rose and Crimson Blader. Forgot the name. But yeah, I have those in here. Crimson Blader is really insane in the mirror match so far, and against, you know, other decks that like to summon big guys. It's even good against Monarchs. So it's pretty good. With play, you can make it with Pulsar instantly, or you can make it with a Sorcerer after you banish something. It's got a lot of utility. So, and then Black Rose, I guess if I need to nuke the board, if I've already used my Dark Hole and I got Dougied on and they spammed all over me. But yeah, those are the 2 I have in there now. I want to fit in a Stardust, possibly, and a Catastor for sure. I'm going to wait until the 10 comes out because, as you can see, you know, the deck isn't hollowed out. So I'm going to stick with that theme and get a shitty Catastor. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole deck as it stands at this moment. It can all be changed. As far as side deck is concerned, the meta isn't defined enough for me to go around and start making a side deck. There's, you know, basic cards that I would put in if I was playing in a tournament before the YCS or before, you know, regionals pick up or whatever, and people start discussing ideas more. So yeah, the side deck is non-existent right now, but it could really be anything at this point. So yeah, that's the whole deck, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have to talk about today. So I'll see you guys later.